When you think of Beverly Hills, you picture luxury, fame, and wealth, a picture-perfect life. But on the night of August 20th, 1989, that illusion was shattered by one of the most shocking family crimes in American history. Inside their lavish home, José and Kitty Menéndez were watching a movie, unaware that their own sons were about to forever change their lives and the nation's view of privilege and justice. Moments later, they were gunned down in a brutal attack. At first, the sons seemed devastated, calling 911 in tears. But soon, a chilling truth came to light. The killers were not strangers. They were their own children. Today, on Uncovering Crime, we revisit the infamous Menendez brothers case, a story of hidden trauma, greed, and courtroom drama that captivated the world.
Beverly Hills. You hear the name and you immediately picture something, right?
Oh, yeah. Gleaming mansions, high hedges, maybe a movie star driving by.
Exactly. That feeling of untouchable wealth. You know, the American dream totally maxed out, almost like nothing bad could ever happen there.
Right, a bubble.
Then you get August 20th, 1989,
Oh, yeah.
722 North Elm Drive. And that whole perfect image just shatters.
Completely. A brutal double homicide. José and Kitty Menéndez. It's still shocking to think about.
And Jose, he'd come from Cuba, built this huge career. Kitty, a former beauty queen, they had apparently had a pretty normal day, even went shark fishing.
Yeah, just a regular Sunday for them, supposedly. Planning to watch a movie that night at home seems so mundane before the horror.
And then in their own entertainment room. I mean, the violence is just staggering. Jose shot 6 times, Kitty 10 times. It's hard to even comprehend.
It really is, the sheer brutality.
Then you have the sons. Lyle, he's 21. Eric, just 18. They make this frantic 911 call.
And when the police arrive, they seem absolutely devastated, sobbing, distraught.
So naturally, the idea that they could be involved, it seemed completely impossible at first. Unthinkable.
That disbelief is a huge part of the early story, isn't it? This incredibly wealthy family, Beverly Hills mansion. How could the kids possibly do this? It just didn't fit.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do in this deep dive. We've got the details here, and we want to try and understand how this family, looking so perfect on the outside, could have had this darkness inside.
Yeah, this secret that exploded so violently.
We need to peel back those layers, get past the headlines, and see what was really going on that led to that night.
And the material we're looking at, it starts doing that pretty quickly. That perfect facade starts to crumble almost immediately when you dig in.
It really does. You learn about Jose's journey first. He comes over from Cuba at 16, escaping communism. No silver spoon here.
Right, he earned it. Athletic scholarship, meets Kitty, works his way up.
And what a climb. Coopers and Lybrand, then CEO of Hertz, an executive at RCA Records. I mean, this is serious success.
Big time. Which meant the lifestyle to match. You know, beautiful homes, private schools for Lyle and Eric, tennis clubs, trips abroad, the whole 9 yards.
And that move to the Beverly Hills mansion in '86, that really cemented their status. It wasn't just any house either, right? Prince owned it. Elton John.
Yeah, it had that celebrity pedigree, and the boys were doing well in tennis, or seemed to be. It all added to that perfect family picture.
But here's the twist. Because behind all that gloss, the sources start painting a very different picture of Jose.
Controlling, demanding, and crucially, the allegations of abuse start surfacing.
That pressure, especially with tennis, sounds like it was immense, a really rigid household. Failure wasn't really an option, apparently.
And the consequences for not meeting those supervised standards were reportedly quite severe.
It's this stark contrast, isn't it? The shiny outside versus the alleged tension and fear inside.
Totally. And then there's Eric's creative side, the screenplays, including one about a son who kills his wealthy parents.
Oof. Yeah, that detail is chilling, gives you a serious pause. It really does. A disturbing foreshadowing, maybe. Or just venting. Hard to say for sure, but it's there.
And it wasn't the only sign that things weren't right, was it? The material mentions other troubling incidents earlier on.
Yeah, the alleged abuse involving their cousin. Lyle is about 15, Eric 12. The cousin apparently told Kitty.
And Kitty's reaction, or lack of reaction, dismissing it.
According to the reports, yeah. Which says a lot about the family dynamics, maybe. A desire to maintain that perfect image at all costs.
It certainly suggests a reluctance to face unpleasant truths. Then you have Lyle getting kicked out of Princeton temporarily for cheating.
And both brothers getting into, like, petty theft and vandalism. Not exactly the actions of happy, well-adjusted kids from that kind of background.
Seems like acting out, maybe. Or signs of deeper problems, clearly.
For sure. Then they start therapy with Dr. Jerome Oziel. And for a while, things actually seem to get better, or so it appeared.
Right, the information suggests, an improvement. Lyle goes back to Princeton. Eric's thinking about film school at USC. Like they were turning a corner, maybe patching things up.
But that improvement, well, it was tragically deceptive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because underneath that surface, the brothers were actually planning the murders.
Even while things look better on the outside, that's profoundly disturbing.
And this is where it gets incredibly dark and specific. They buy 2 Mossberg 12-gauge shotguns in San Diego.
August 18th, just 2 days before the killings. That detail, the specific purchase, it just screams premeditation.
No question. Then the night itself, August 20th, parents are home watching a movie, totally unsuspecting.
And Lyle and Eric walk into the entertainment room, armed.
The description of what happened next. It's brutal. Jose shot in the head, the torso. Kitty, trying to get away, shot multiple times.
10 times. It's just horrific violence, almost unimaginable.
And their actions immediately after. Showering, changing clothes, getting rid of the shotguns up near Mulholland Drive.
Very methodical, calculated, trying to erase the evidence.
Then the alibi attempt, going to the movies. To see Batman of all things, it feels almost surreal.
Completely surreal, trying to establish they were somewhere else.
And that 911 call they made later, 11:47 p.m. It sounded, by all accounts, like genuine panic and shock finding their parents.
Which worked initially. The police didn't suspect them at first. There was even talk of a possible mafia hit.
Right, because of shots to the knees, which turned out to be post-mortem.
Exactly. So that initial theory kind of muddied the waters and pointed away from the Sons.
But that carefully built story, it couldn't hold up forever, could it? Their behavior afterwards started raising red flags. Big ones.
Definitely. The money, primarily.
Yeah, the inheritance. They got $650,000 pretty quickly from life insurance and knew millions more were coming.
And they started spending it fast.
Like really fast.
Yeah.
Lyle buys a Porsche, a Rolex, he even buys a restaurant business in Princeton.
Well, Eric's pouring money into tennis coaches, traveling to tournaments overseas, living it up.
It just seems so off.
Yeah.
For 2 sons who supposedly just tragically lost their parents in such a violent way, lavish spending isn't usually the first reaction.
Not at all. And that disconnect, it definitely got people suspicious. Friends, investigators. It led to police surveillance.
There was also that attempt by their friend, Craig Signorelli, to secretly record Eric confessing, right? It didn't work out, but it shows the suspicion was growing even within their own circle.
Yeah, people close to them were starting to think something wasn't right.
And then, maybe the most damning piece of circumstantial evidence before the confession, Eric's screenplay. Friends till the end.
Chilling title in hindsight.
And the plot mirrored the crime so closely. A son killing wealthy parents. That couldn't be ignored.
No, it offered this really disturbing window into Eric's mind. Maybe his planning, even as unconsciously at first. It became a key piece.
And eventually, the pressure, the guilt, it got to Eric. He confessed.
To the therapist, Dr. Oziel, that was the breaking point. The guilt was apparently overwhelming him.
Which is huge. That confession changes everything.
Yeah.
And Lyle's reaction when he found out.
He supposedly threatened Oziel, tried to keep him quiet, which, only reinforced their guilt and desperation.
But the secret couldn't stay buried. Those therapy sessions, Oziel had taped them.
And his mistress, Judalon Smith, she found out about the tapes and the confession.
And she went to the authorities. Another wild twist.
Absolutely. That's what blew the case wide open and gave the police the concrete evidence they needed.
Which led directly to the arrests. Lyle first, March 8th, 1990.
Then Eric, a few days later, March 11th, right when he got back from a trip to Israel.
And the trials, they became a media sensation, didn't they? Dominated the news.
Oh, totally. Court TV launched around then, and this case was perfect for it. Huge public interest.
The prosecution had a pretty clear narrative. They killed for the money. Plain and simple greed. $14 million inheritance.
Right. Cold-blooded murder for financial gain.
But the defense countered with something completely different. Years and years of horrific abuse. Physical, sexual, emotional. Mostly by Jose.
And they argued Kitty was complicit, or at least knew and didn't stop it. A perfect storm of trauma leading to the killings out of fear.
The brothers testified in detail about this alleged abuse. Some friends, family members, their cousin Diana too, they supported parts of the abuse claims.
It made the case incredibly complex. Was it greed, or was it self-defense born from years of terror?
And that complexity was reflected in the first trial's outcome. A hung jury. They couldn't reach a unanimous verdict.
Which showed just how divided people were, and maybe how effective the defense's narrative was for some jurors.
But the second trial in 1995 was different. No TV cameras this time. Fewer experts called.
And some new evidence, including a computer simulation, I think, which the prosecution used to argue premeditation more strongly. The idea of imminent danger seemed weaker.
Right. The focus shifted back towards planning rather than immediate fear.
And this time the jury reached a verdict, March 20th, 1996. Guilty, first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder.
For both brothers. And the sentence came soon after, in April.
Life in prison without any possibility of parole. And they were sent to separate prisons initially.
A definitive end to the legal saga, at least in terms of conviction and sentencing. But their story didn't completely end there, did it?
No, life went on, even in prison. Both Lyle and Eric actually got married while incarcerated.
Which is another layer to the whole thing, finding relationships under those circumstances.
And then years later, in 2018, they were reunited, transferred to the same correctional facility.
Reports said it was a pretty emotional reunion for them after being separated for so long. Brings a strange human element back into it.
It does, after all the horror and the legal battles, just two brothers seeing each other again.
And looking back, the Menendez case, it's just lodged itself in American crime history, hasn't it? Books, documentaries, movies, it keeps getting revisited.
Absolutely. It touches on so many themes: wealth, privilege, family secrets, abuse, the justice system. It continues to fascinate and disturb people.
And the information notes that, especially more recently, the claims of child abuse are maybe being considered more seriously by some, even if the convictions stand firm.
Right. There's more awareness about trauma now. But legally, the verdict remains. It raises difficult questions, though, about cycles of violence and hidden abuse.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, we started with that perfect Beverly Hills image. We saw it completely demolished by shocking violence.
We uncovered the layers of a deeply troubled family, the alleged abuse, the pressure.
We followed the brothers' planning, the brutal act, their attempts to cover it up, the suspicion, the confession.
And the sensational trials, the conflicting narratives of greed versus fear, ending in life sentences.
It's clear from all the material that this is an incredibly complex story. There are no easy answers, no simple takeaways. It's a tragedy with ripples that continue even today.
Definitely leaves you with a lot to think about.
It really does. So as you reflect on everything we've unpacked here, the glamour, the alleged abuse, the planning, the trial narratives, what's the one thing about this whole saga that sticks with you the most? What aspect makes you really stop and think about the hidden realities behind wealth and privilege and the devastating impacts secrets and trauma can have?